Marcus Sullivan grabbed his wife's wrist across the table at Romano's, the city's most exclusive restaurant. His grip left red marks on her pale skin. Sarah, 7 months pregnant, winced but didn't pull away. "I told you to stop embarrassing me," Marcus hissed, his voice low but venomous. "Ordering water instead of wine makes me look cheap." "I'm pregnant," Sarah whispered, her free hand instinctively moving to her swollen belly. "I can't drink alcohol." Marcus tightened his grip. "Then you should have stayed home." The couple at the next table looked away. A waiter passing by pretended he didn't notice. 3 businessmen in the corner booth continued their conversation without missing a beat. Everyone saw, nobody moved. Marcus released her wrist and turned his attention to his phone, scrolling through emails while their food arrived. Sarah sat perfectly still, fighting back tears, her untouched meal growing cold in front of her. "Eat faster," Marcus snapped without looking up. "We have the charity gala in an hour. I need you presentable, not stuffing your face like usual." Sarah picked up her fork with trembling hands. She'd lost 15 pounds since her pregnancy began, despite her growing belly. The doctors were concerned, but Marcus dismissed their worries as weakness. A young couple nearby exchanged uncomfortable glances. The woman leaned toward her partner, whispering something. He shook his head, pulling her back. "Not their business. Not their problem." Before we continue, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to The Ride for Justice. Marcus stood abruptly, throwing his napkin on the table. "Get up, we're leaving." Sarah struggled to rise from her seat, her pregnant body making quick movements difficult. Marcus didn't wait. He walked toward the exit, leaving her to catch up. She grabbed her purse and followed, her heels clicking against the marble floor. As she passed the kitchen entrance, she stumbled slightly, catching herself on a nearby chair. A busboy reached out to steady her, but pulled back when Marcus turned around. "Are you coming, or not?" Marcus called from the doorway. The restaurant fell silent. 40 people watched Sarah Sullivan walk toward her husband, her head down, her spirit broken. The hostess held the door open, avoiding eye contact. The valet brought Marcus's black Mercedes around front. Nobody said a word. Nobody lifted a finger. In a room full of witnesses, Sarah was completely alone. Marcus opened the driver's door for himself, leaving Sarah to manage the passenger side on her own. She slid into the leather seat, her belly pressing against the seatbelt. Marcus started the engine and pulled into traffic without checking if she was buckled in. "Tonight at the gala, you smile and you don't speak unless spoken to," Marcus said, his eyes fixed on the road. "Last time you opened your mouth, you cost me a major investor. Do you understand?" "Yes," Sarah replied quietly. The Riverside Hotel ballroom glittered with crystal chandeliers and designer gowns. Marcus steered Sarah through the crowd with his hand pressed firmly against her lower back. To outsiders, it looked like a protective gesture. Sarah felt the warning in his fingers. "This Thompson," Marcus muttered. "Remember what I said." They approached a silver-haired man holding a champagne flute. Marcus's demeanor shifted instantly into charm and warmth. "Richard, great to see you." The men shook hands while Sarah stood slightly behind Marcus, her smile frozen in place. Her feet ached in the heels Marcus insisted she wear. Her back screamed from standing. The baby kicked hard against her ribs, making her gasp softly. Marcus's hand found hers, squeezing hard enough to hurt. The smile never left his face as he conversed with Thompson about quarterly projections and market trends. "And how are you feeling, Mrs. Sullivan?" Thompson asked politely, finally acknowledging her presence. Sarah began. "She's wonderful," Marcus interrupted, his grip tightening. "Never felt better." "Pregnancy suits her, doesn't it?" Thompson nodded uncomfortably and excused himself. Marcus released Sarah's hand, leaving white impressions where his fingers had been. "Did I say you could talk?" Marcus whispered, his smile still plastered on for the crowd. A woman in a red dress nearby glanced over, her expression troubled. She started toward them, but her husband intercepted, pulling her toward the bar. "Mind your business." Marcus guided Sarah to a corner table. "Sit here. Don't move. Don't talk to anyone. I'll be back in 30 minutes. Sarah lowered herself into the chair, relief flooding through her aching legs. She watched Marcus work the room, shaking hands, laughing at jokes, the perfect image of success and charm. Nobody would believe the truth. She barely believed it herself sometimes. A waiter offered her water. She accepted gratefully, drinking it too quickly. Her dress felt tight around her middle. The room was too hot, too loud, too bright. Her vision swam. "Are you all right?" an elderly woman at the next table asked. Sarah nodded, not trusting her voice. The woman frowned but turned away. Not her problem. Across the room, Marcus glanced back at her. Even from a distance, Sarah felt the weight of his surveillance. She sat up straighter, arranged her features into pleasantness, became the perfect trophy wife. The minutes crawled past. Sarah's water glass emptied. Her bladder protested, but she didn't dare leave her assigned spot. Marcus had rules. Breaking them had consequences. A commotion near the entrance drew everyone's attention. The ballroom doors opened, admitting a group that didn't belong. 8 people in worn leather jackets and denim, bikers. The crowd's chatter dim, replaced by whispers and stares. The bikers moved through the gala like wolves among sheep. The crowd parted instinctively, designer gowns and tuxedos pressing back against walls and tables. At the front walked a woman in her mid-50s, grey hair in a long braid, a leather vest adorned with patches. Her eyes swept the room with the confidence of someone who'd seen everything and feared nothing. Behind her, 7 others. 3 women, 4 men, ages ranging from 30s to 60s. They wore their road-worn gear like armor. None of them smiled. Hotel security moved in, but the grey-haired woman held up a hand. "We're not here to cause trouble. We're looking for someone." Marcus appeared, his face red with indignation. "Who let you people in here? This is a private event." The woman ignored him, her gaze continuing to scan faces. Then she spotted Sarah, still sitting alone at the corner table, pale and trembling. "There," the woman said to her companions. She started walking towards Sarah. Marcus moved to intercept. "I said this is private." A tall biker with a graying beard stepped in front of Marcus. He didn't touch him, didn't threaten, just stood there, immovable. Marcus found himself taking a step back. The grey-haired woman reached Sarah's table and knelt down, bringing herself to eye level. "Sarah Sullivan." Sarah's eyes widened in confusion and fear. "How do you know my name?" "Your sister sent us." Sarah's hand flew to her mouth. "Emma? But she…" "In Seattle. She couldn't come herself, so she called us. I'm Maria. Your sister and I served together overseas, long time ago. When she told me what was happening, we came as fast as we could." Tears spilled down Sarah's cheeks. "You shouldn't be here. Marcus will." "Marcus will what?" Maria's voice was soft but steel hard. "Tell me what he'll do." Sarah shook her head, unable to speak. Around them, the gala guests watched in frozen silence. Security guards hovered uncertainly near the entrance. Nobody knew how to handle this situation. Marcus pushed past the bearded biker, his face twisted with rage. "Get away from my wife." Maria stood slowly, turning to face him. She was half a foot shorter than Marcus, probably 40 pounds lighter. She looked at him the way someone might look at a cockroach. "Your wife needs medical attention," Maria said. "When's the last time she ate? Drank water? Used the bathroom?" "That's none of your concern," Marcus snarled. "Sarah, we're leaving. Now." Sarah started to rise. Her legs buckled. 2 of the female bikers moved instantly, catching her before she hit the floor. They eased her back into the chair. "She's not going anywhere with you," Maria said. The room held its collective breath. Marcus's hand moved toward his phone. "I'm calling the police. You're trespassing, harassing." "Call them," Maria interrupted. "Please. I'd love to explain to the police why your pregnant wife is dehydrated, underweight, and covered in bruises that are shaped like fingers." Marcus went pale. Several guests gasped. Sarah's arms were indeed marked with yellowing bruises, visible now that someone had pointed them out. A woman in the crowd spoke up. "I saw him grab her at Romano's tonight. He was hurting her." Another voice joined. "I've seen them before. He's always rough with her." Marcus's carefully constructed image cracked, like thin ice. Phones appeared in hands throughout the ballroom. Recording, witnesses finally finding their voices, but only after someone else had stepped forward first. "This is ridiculous," Marcus said, his voice rising. "She's my wife. She's fine. Tell them, Sarah." All eyes turned to Sarah. She sat between the 2 biker women, their hands gentle on her shoulders. Maria stood in front of her like a shield. For the first time in 3 years, Sarah had protection. For the first time in 3 years, someone was on her side. Sarah's voice came out broken. "I can't do this anymore." Marcus lunged forward. The bearded biker caught him by the shoulder, spinning him back. "That's close enough. Take your hands off me." "Do you know who I am?" Marcus shouted. "I can destroy you. All of you. One phone call and you'll wish." Empty threats from empty men, Maria said. We've heard it before. Hotel security finally approached, led by a manager in a crisp suit. Folks, we need to resolve this situation. Mr. Sullivan is a valued guest, and his pregnant wife is a human being who deserves basic decency, Maria interrupted. But apparently, that wasn't worth intervening for until we showed up. The manager flushed. Several guests looked away, shame creeping into their expressions. They'd all seen, they'd all done nothing. A biker with salt and pepper hair stepped forward, addressing the crowd. How many of you saw something tonight? This week? This month? How many of you knew and turned away? Silence answered him. The kind of silence that spoke volumes. Sarah's voice cut through the quiet. He pushed me down the stairs 2 weeks ago. I went to the hospital. They asked if I was safe at home. Her tears flowed freely now. I said yes because I was afraid. Because I didn't think anyone would believe me. Because he's Marcus Sullivan, and I'm nobody. You're not nobody, Maria said firmly. You're someone's sister, someone's daughter, someone's mother. She gestured to Sarah's belly. And you don't deserve any of this. Marcus made another move towards Sarah. This time, all 8 bikers shifted, forming a wall. Marcus stopped, looking around at the crowd for support. He found none. The people who'd ignored Sarah's suffering weren't going to defend her abuser. This isn't over, Marcus threatened. I have lawyers. I have resources. And we have the truth, Maria replied. Plus, about 40 witnesses who just realized they should have spoken up sooner. Plus, whatever the hospital documented, plus your wife's testimony. Sarah stood, supported by the 2 women beside her. Her legs shook but held. I want to leave, not with him, with them. Marcus's face contorted. You can't just leave. You signed a prenup. You have nothing without me. Nowhere to go. She has her sister, Maria said. She has us. She has options. You tried very hard to make her forget existed. A woman in the crowd stepped forward. Older, distinguished, wearing pearls and authority. I have a law firm that specializes in domestic cases. We work pro bono when needed. Mrs. Sullivan, you have representation if you want it. Another voice. My family runs a women's shelter. She has a place to stay tonight. Another. I'm a doctor. She needs a full medical evaluation. I'll do it free of charge. The ballroom transformed. What started as silent complicity became active assistance. People who'd watched Sarah suffer for months suddenly found their voices, their resources, their courage. The biker's intervention had broken the spell of bystander apathy. Marcus watched his world shift. You're all making a mistake. Sarah, think about what you're doing. Think about our life together. I'm thinking about my baby, Sarah said, her voice stronger now. I'm thinking about what kind of mother I can be if I'm too broken to function. I'm thinking about teaching my child that this isn't love. I never hit you, Marcus said desperately. It's not like I actually… You broke 2 of my ribs when you shoved me into the counter, Sarah interrupted. You gave me a concussion last month. You control everything I eat, wear, say, do. You isolated me from everyone who cared about me. That's hitting. That's abuse. That's everything I'm done with. Maria pulled out her phone. I'm calling those police now, not for us, for you. She looked at Marcus. Assault. Battery. Coercion. Let's see how your lawyers handle that. Marcus's face went from red to white. You can't prove anything. Hospital records prove plenty, the doctor who'd spoken up said. I've seen Sarah 3 times in the past 4 months. I documented everything. I reported it to the authorities. They're already investigating. Marcus turned to the hotel manager. You're going to let this happen? In your establishment? The manager straightened his spine. I'm going to let a pregnant woman get the help she needs. What happens after that isn't my concern, but her safety is. Police arrived within minutes. 2 officers, 1 male and 1 female. They'd apparently been briefed on the situation because they went straight to Sarah, not Marcus. Mrs. Sullivan, we'd like to ask you some questions, the female officer said gently. Is that all right? Sarah nodded. Maria stayed close, protective without being intrusive. The bikers maintained their formation, ensuring Marcus couldn't approach. You can't take statements here, Marcus protested. This is harassment. I want my lawyer present. You're welcome to call your lawyer, Mr. Sullivan, the male officer said, but right now, we're talking to your wife. Separately. They led Sarah to a private room off the ballroom. Maria and one other biker accompanied her, along with the lawyer who'd volunteered her services. The door closed behind them. In the ballroom, Marcus stood alone. The crowd that once sought his attention now avoided his gaze. The power he'd wielded so effortlessly had evaporated. Without Sarah to control, without the silence of Wheezy's to protect him, he was just a man who'd hurt someone weaker and gotten caught. The bearded biker leaned against the wall near Marcus, not threatening, just present. "You know what's funny? All this could have been avoided if you'd just treated her like a human being. But guys like you don't understand that, do you? It's always about control." Marcus said nothing. His hands clenched and unclenched. His jaw worked. But for once, he had no response. In the private room, Sarah told her story. Everything. 3 years of escalating abuse. The isolation, the control, the physical violence, the fear, the pregnancy that had made everything worse, because Marcus resented the attention shifting from him to the baby. The officer took notes. The lawyer recorded everything. Maria held Sarah's hand, steady and solid. "I'm scared," Sarah admitted. "He has money, power, connections. And you have the truth," the lawyer said. "Plus witnesses now, plus documentation. Plus us. He's not as untouchable as he wants you to believe." "What happens next?" Sarah asked. "You're not going home with him tonight," the officer said. "We're going to get you somewhere safe. Then we'll get a restraining order filed. Then we build a case. It's going to take time, but you're not alone anymore." Sarah left the Riverside Hotel surrounded by bikers. Maria's motorcycle club had formed a protective circle, ensuring Marcus couldn't follow, couldn't make a scene, couldn't reclaim control. The police escort didn't hurt either. The women's shelter was different from what Sarah expected. Not cold or institutional, but warm. A converted Victorian house with soft lighting and comfortable furniture. The woman who ran it, Teresa, greeted Sarah like an old friend. "You're safe here," Teresa said simply. "No one gets in without permission. No one tracks you. No one judges you. This is your space for as long as you need it." Maria and her crew stayed until Sarah was settled. They'd driven 4 hours to reach her, acting on a desperate phone call from Emma. They'd storm a fancy gala full of people who could make their lives difficult. They'd stood between a woman and her abuser without hesitation. "Why?" Sarah asked Maria as the others said their goodbyes. "You don't know me. Emma served with you years ago. Why would you do this?" Maria sat on the edge of Sarah's bed. "Because someone did it for me once. Different circumstances, same situation. Someone saw me drowning and threw me a rope. I swore I'd do the same aim. Others, when I could. I don't know how to thank you. Don't thank me, just survive. Heal. Be the mother your baby deserves. That's thanks enough." After the bikers left, Sarah sat alone in her room. Her phone buzzed constantly with texts from Marcus. Threats, apologies, manipulation. All swirling together. The lawyer had warned her this would happen. She turned the phone off. That night, Sarah slept without fear for the first time in years. No worrying about waking Marcus up. No listening for his footsteps. No bracing for criticism or cruelty. Just sleep, deep and dreamless. The next morning brought reality. Legal papers to file, statements to give, medical examinations. The lawyer, true to her word, worked pro bono. The doctor did a full evaluation, concerned about Sarah's weight loss and stress levels, but optimistic about the baby's health. Emma called from Seattle crying with relief. "I'm so sorry I wasn't there. I should have come myself." "You sent the perfect people," Sarah assured her. "You saved my life." The restraining order was granted within 48 hours. Marcus was prohibited from contacting Sarah or coming within 500 feet of her. He violated it twice in the first week, each time met by police and additional charges. Sarah learned that her case wasn't unique. The detective assigned to her had files on Marcus going back a decade. 2 ex-girlfriends had reported similar abuse. Both had dropped charges after Marcus's lawyers and mine made their lives difficult. But Sarah's case was different. Too public, too witnessed, too documented. The media picked up the story. Not the tabloid version Marcus would have preferred, but the real one. Billionaire CEO faces domestic violence charges. Witnesses describe years of abuse. The narrative Marcus had carefully controlled unraveled publicly. His board of directors held an emergency meeting. Investors pulled funding. Sponsors distanced themselves. The empire Marcus had built on charm and ruthlessness began to crumble. Sarah watched it happen from the safety of the shelter. She felt no satisfaction, only exhaustion. This wasn't revenge. This was survival. 3 months later, Sarah stood in family court. 8 months pregnant, and visibly stronger. She'd gained back the weight she'd lost. Color had returned to her face. Her voice no longer shook when she spoke. Marcus sat across the courtroom, diminished. His legal team surrounded him, but their confidence had faded. The evidence was overwhelming. Hospital records, witness statements, photos, recordings. The prosecution had built an airtight case. The judge, a woman in her 60s with steel-grey hair and no patience for nonsense, reviewed the documents. "Mr. Sullivan, you've been charged with multiple counts of assault, battery, coercion, and intimidation. How do you plead?" Marcus's lawyer stood. "Your Honor, my client wishes to negotiate." "I asked your client, not you," the judge interrupted. "Mr. Sullivan?" Marcus stood. The arrogance was gone. "Guilty, Your Honor." The courtroom stirred. Sarah's hand went to her belly. The baby kicked, strong and healthy. Sentencing came 2 weeks later. Marcus received 2 years in prison, 5 years probation, mandatory counseling, and permanent loss of custody rights. His assets were divided, with Sarah receiving enough to start over comfortably. The judge made it clear that privilege and wealth wouldn't protect him from consequences. Sarah attended the sentencing with Maria by her side. The biker had become a constant presence, a friend, a mentor. The entire motorcycle club had adopted Sarah as one of their own, checking in regularly, offering support, making sure she never felt alone again. After the sentencing, Sarah and Maria stood outside the courthouse. Reporters shouted questions. Sarah ignored them, but Maria paused. "You want to know why we stepped in when no one else would?" Maria said to the cameras. "Because silence protects abusers. Because watching and doing nothing makes you complicit. Because every person in that restaurant, in that ballroom, who saw something and said nothing, they enabled the. Don't be that person. Don't wait for bikers to show up. Be the intervention yourself." The clip went viral. The hashtag #BeTheIntervention trended for days. People shared their own stories of abuse, of intervention, of wishing someone had stepped in sooner. Sarah gave birth, 3 weeks later, to a healthy baby girl. She named her Emma Maria Sullivan. Emma for her sister who'd made the call that changed everything. Maria for the woman who'd answered it. The shelter became Sarah's temporary home for 6 months while she rebuilt her life. Teresa offered her a job, administrative at first, then counseling as Sarah took classes and earned her certification. Sarah found purpose in helping other women escape situations like hers. Marcus served his full sentence. Sarah had no contact with him. He tried to reach out multiple times, letters full of apologies and promises. She never responded. Some chapters needed to close completely. On Emma Maria's first birthday, Sarah hosted a party at the community center attached to the shelter. Emma flew in from Seattle. Maria and the entire motorcycle club attended. The women Sarah had helped through the shelter came. The lawyer who'd taken her case. The doctor who'd evaluated her. The people from the gala who'd finally spoken up. Marcus wasn't invited. He wasn't mentioned. He wasn't relevant anymore. Sarah stood in the center of the celebration, her daughter on her hip, surrounded by people who'd proven that intervention matters, that silence is complicity, that standing up is always the right choice even when it's hard. "Thank you," Sarah said to the crowd. "Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for not looking away. Thank you for proving that people can be better, braver, kinder than we sometimes give them credit for." Maria raised a glass. To Sarah, for surviving, for thriving, for becoming the person who'll step in when someone else needs help. To Sarah, the crowd echoed. Outside, motorcycles lined the street. Inside, a woman who'd almost lost everything had found herself. The bikers had arrived when no one else would. They'd changed one life. That life had changed others. The ripples continued spreading, reminding everyone that justice sometimes rides on 2 wheels and wears leather, but always shows up when it matters most.